Children, in this session, let us go through the waterways. Now, waterways in our country, that is the cheapest mode of the transportation, because we have got the longest of the coastline, which includes many of the rivers, canals, lakes, and the backwaters. And other than it, this waterways, it becomes the fuel efficient and environment friendly mode of transportation. The heavier bulky goods which the railways, airways and the roadways, they are not able to carry off, it can very easily be done by the way of the waterways. So very broadly we can categorize two type of the waterways in our country. One is the inland water transportation, the another one that is the coastal shipping. Now what are these two types? Inland waterway, it is when all the rivers or the canal of our country that are navigable, they through it the water transport it takes place, that is within the country. Then the coastal ship, it is the movement of the ships along the coast without having to cross the oceans. The Central Water Transport Corporation, it was formed up and the headquarters is located at Kolkata, and the main work is of the transportation of the goods by inland waterways in river Ganga, Brahmaputra, Hooghly and Sundarban regions. Then we have the Inland Waterways Authority of India. Now it was made for the development and regulation of the inland waterways for shipping and navigation. Then the way the road transportation, national highway, it manages out the road transportation. We have the national waterways also that manages out the traffic where the waterways they are concerned. The two longest of the rivers of India, we have Ganga and Brahmaputra and their tributaries. They carry the larger part of the river traffic system, whether it is the goods, basically the goods only, bulky goods, and then the passengers as well. There are 5 national waterways. Like one example I will give, that is of the national waterways number 1, that is built on Ganga river. It starts from Allahabad and goes to Haldia and covers the distance of 1620 kilometers, and it is the longest national waterways in India. Children, 4 more are given in the book. Please go through it. Make sure you are learning the starting point and the destination point of these very waterways system along with the cargo that it carries. Major ports and shipping. We have got the very long coastline. So it means by the way of the oceanic route, sea route, we can have trade with almost all the countries of the world. International, the more the international trade we have, the more economic development of the country it would take place. So we have 12 major seaports and 187 minor ports. Major ports of the country, they come under the central government, and while the smaller ones, they are managed out by the state government. Kolkata, Paradip, Vishakhapatnam. Vishakhapatnam is the major seaport of our country. Then we have at Mumbai and at Kandala, to name the few. The advantages of the water transport, like the less cost of the maintenance that is required as compared to railways and the roadways. Then water transport is very cheap. Cheap in the sense that when the heavier goods, the bulky goods, they are carried from one place to another, it is done on a very large scale, on a mass scale. So the cost of the transportation is very less as compared to the roadways and the railways. So it is very useful where the transportation of the bulky goods they are concerned. Then they form the defense line of the country, the navy. All right, because we have got the coastal borders, that is very extended one. We are a peninsular nation. So it also needs to be defended out. So navy comes in line there. Then we have the disadvantages of the water transport. These are: the speed compared to the other modes of the transportation is very less. Then it depends upon the weather. If the failure of the monsoon it is there, then the rivers would not have enough water in them. Water transportation, it cannot take place. Then it is always a risky one because the ships or the boat, they might sink even the flood-like condition, the drought-like conditions, they are considered to be very harmful. Then if the riverbed is the rocky area, then the ship or the boat transportation, it would be highly affected. So these were the few of the problems to name. We have the coastal shipping. We have got the largest merchant shipping fleet among the developing countries, and we rank 19 among the countries. Now, coastal shipping involves the movement of the goods and the people from one port to another, that is within the country. None of the sea or the oceanic route that is involved, but the movement is with the coastal areas. It is the cheapest mode of the transportation. It saves on the fuel and carries the bulky good like iron and steel, coal, timber over the larger distances. The advantages of the coastal shipping include that it is environment friendly, it saves on the fuel. Then many other occupations such as the fishery that is dependent on the coastal shipping. Then the burden on the railways and the roadways that is reduced because of the coastal shipping. Then employment, it is generated, tourism is promoted. The money investment, the capital investment, it is much less than compared with the other modes of the transportation. The problem of the Indian ports then they are that it is not well connected with the hinterland area. Then it is not well planned, lack of the facilities it is there. Then they are very congested and the heavy load is there of the cargo containers. And the coastal fleet, it is aging fast and much of it requires the replacement, and there is high imbalance in the coastal traffic movement as the traffic is not equally available in both the sides, and the slow handling, this movement of the cargo, that is very slow as compared to the other modes of transportation. Let us go through the problem of the inland waterways. Like the rivers of the peninsular India, they are not navigable. They have very little water when the summer season is there. Then they are entirely dependent upon the monsoons. Rivers Krishna and Godavari, they are the chief mean of the transport and they offer the cheap access to the market. Then on the western side, Kerala, it has the system of the backwaters or the lagoon, which serves as the main mode of transportation. Much of the goods and the products they are transported from the western side, that is the Kerala. But at the same time, it is also true that much of the importance of the inland waterways it has declined because the roadways and the railways they have developed out on a very larger basis, but the same amount of the development that has not taken place where the inland waterways they are concerned. Then the river water, it is also diverted for the purpose of the irrigation. Then the problem of the silting of the river and the erosion that has also led to the decline of the inland waterways. Then it is not the fastest mode of the transportation. So these were the certain problems to name. The last of the topic is the pipeline transportation. Now these are the recent introduction that has been made, that the efficient economical mode of the transportation of the liquids and the semi-solid, it can take place through the pipeline. For example, petroleum products, then the natural gas, water, milk, it can be transported by the help of the pipelines. Having developed the pipeline transportation system, much of the traffic it has been diverted off from the railways and the roadways where the transfer of the goods they are concerned, but it has both the advantages and the disadvantages. Now to list some of the advantages, they are: it is very suited to the transport of the liquids and the gases, and it can pass through any of the difficult terrain, even the hilly areas, and also through underwater sources, maybe lakes or rivers or even at times seas. Now, very low energy consumption that is required and very little amount of the maintenance that is also required there. It is considered to be the safest mode of the transportation and which is accident free and environment friendly. Main disadvantage attached with this is once the pipelines they are made, they cannot be reverted back because it is not flexible. They would have the fixed points from where the starting and the destination it would be there. So they cannot be moved from one place to the another once they are laid out. The capacity also, it cannot be increased. Then it is not the easier task to have it repaired once the detection of the leakage it is done, and at times the detection of the leakage is also difficult. Then to have the security deposits for its arrangement, that is a very long and a grilling process. Then some people, they can make a great harm to these pipelines as well, especially at the time of the strike, at the time of the lockout, or any of the time when the demand of the people, they are not met with. Then terrorism, it can also affect the laying down of the pipe. We come to the end of the chapter, so please have a reading and go through the set of the question answers. Thank you, children.